Hello, everyone. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson, and we are here with you on Cruise Control. We're just getting ready for the live show, the live radio show. But let me tell you a little bit about what we'll be doing this week. We're going to talk about Consumer Reports. They say they were able to drive a Tesla less with no one in the driver's seat, easily fooling the autopilot system. We'll talk about how they did it. What do you think about that?
Yep. Well, I think I want to. We know the folks at Consumer Reports. I want to know who volunteered to get in the back seat and do
Somebody with a lot of padding. That's what I think. That's what I
that, and
think.
insurance.
Yeah, and insurance, and they have a large facility there, so they have a
Yes,
large field that and they need one of those big red buttons that the test vehicles do, right?
that's
Um,
right. Yeah.
yeah. So we're also going to talk about Toyota. Toyota is getting into the electric business. This is their electric SUV. They showed it off at Shanghai, and you might say, "Well, why are we talking about all this stuff at Shanghai?" Well, it is the only place where there's auto shows right now. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. It looks very much like the Rav4, doesn't it?
It does very, very much. But I think that's on purpose, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we'll talk about that. And also, we're going to talk about the Mini Oxford Edition. This is a great value, and you can get into these things for just about $20,000, a little bit over when you factor in the destination charge, but a really, really good deal. It would be a fun little commuter car, wouldn't it?
It would be. I'm getting a John Cooper Works Edition Mini on Monday for testing. So I don't know if I can commute anywhere.
No, you need to
Nowhere
just
to go.
commute to your office where you're sitting right now.
Yes.
You probably don't need a car for that, but yeah, we'll talk about that. And then also in Shanghai, Cadillac revealed their stunning Lyric model, which is really nice. This was, you remember back not that long ago, we talked about the prototype, and we showed you it. And this is the actual production version. It looks very much like the prototype. So we'll talk about that, and that is going to be headed to the U.S. for sure. Some of the other vehicles at the Shanghai show won't be headed there, but we're going to talk a little bit later in the second hour about how VW made a super large SUV. It's too large for the U.S. It is
That's
designed.
impossible.
it's,
That's impossible.
it is designed for the Chinese market. It is so big, it won't be coming to the U.S.
Come on, Fred.
Hard to believe, but that's what they say.
Hmm.
So we'll talk about that. Also, we've got a great guest coming up, Sean Gorman, who is Land Rover's off-road test and engineering consultant. We're going to talk about overlanding and one of these things, and really cool stuff. The Defender, of course, is a great vehicle, a great follow-on to the lineage of Land Rover. And they went out into the wilderness and put together a documentary for the FYI channel. Everything you want to know or everything you need to know about overlanding. So they get far off road, and we'll talk a little bit about that documentary. And
Yeah,
Sean
it's a
will,
neat. We got to take a look at it. Very impressive. Beautiful scenery.
yeah, and we have a link up on our Facebook page, or will when it comes up on our Facebook page. But we'll tell you about that, and Sean will tell us what it was like to drive and really do some extensive off-roading. They went to the Grand Canyon. Really cool stuff. So
I want to. I'm going to ask them how bad was the food that they made.
well, at the end of it, though, it was pretty interesting that Christian Murphy, who's one of the folks on the show, he made a lamb shank out in the field.
Okay. I mean, that's
Australian
great.
style. So it looked quite tasty. But other than that, I think it was freeze dried food, which is can be
Oh,
sometimes
yummy.
very granular. So who is bringing us
Yeah.
in, Les, this week? Is
I
it
am
you?
bringing us in on the air, and we're about to go live in seconds.
We are. We're glad you're along with us for the ride, and Les is going to bring us in on this first hour of the Cruise Control Show, our live radio show. If you're a first-time viewer, we do a live radio show and a live YouTube and Facebook live broadcast. So all at the same time. Les is also going to be doing some card tricks.
Yes. And my imitation of Milton Berle.
Excellent. All coming up on Cruise Control. All right, Les, it's all you.
That's right. Hang on, everybody. I'm letting out the clutch. Welcome to Cruise Control, your on air automotive magazine. We are off and rolling on another week. I'm Les Jackson.
I'm Fred
Coming
Staub.
up right there is Fred Staub. You know us, all of our longtime listeners, and I mean long time, 20 years or so. And you know what we're about up to, which is a whole lot of information.
Yeah, that's right, Les. And we're going to start with an interesting story this week. Consumer Reports says it was able to drive a Tesla with no one in the driver's seat. They were able to fool the Autopilot system. We're going to talk about their findings.
Okay, don't do this at home, folks.
No, don't do this at home.
Please don't do it.
That's for sure.
And yes, Mini is showing off its Oxford edition. That can get you behind the wheel for about $20,000, which is beginning to be really cheap for a new vehicle.
Yeah, it sure is. We'll tell you about that. It's a great deal if you want to go out and have a fun vehicle to commute in or drive around in. Good deal. Subaru prices out its new Outback, but has to stop all U.S. production thanks to the chip shortage. We'll tell you about that.
Go again.
And chips may not be the only thing in short supply, so we'll tell you.
Boy, oh boy. And over at Cadillac, they revealed the production version of the all-electric Lyric crossover. Cool vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. Les will tell you about that and a whole lot more when we get rolling on this edition of Cruise Control Radio, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We are glad you are along for the ride with us. And as Les said, we're just getting started. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com, where you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We're going to have a lot of posts up on our Facebook page following along. Also, a link to a great documentary that we're going to tell you about in a little bit. It is on the FYI channel, and it is called Everything You Need to Know, or Everything You Need to Know About Overlanding. That's right. We'll talk a little bit about that, Les. And you know, it's a lot to get to. We're also going to tell you about some of the cars we'll be reviewing, right?
We will. We have a pretty full schedule of test vehicles that we get into every week. I'm starting off, for instance, next week with the Mini John Cooper edition, which is not the cheap Mini.
No. Less expensive, I believe, is the way to put it.
Less expensive, affordable.
Yeah, yeah, available and affordable. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit about some of the cars I'm getting involved with. When we come back on Cruise Control Radio, we'll also tell you about how Consumer Reports was able to fool the Tesla Autopilot system. So important stuff. So stay tuned to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We'll be right back. Yeah, interesting story from the folks at Consumer Reports. Um, they said they were not able to do this with some of the other systems like Super Cruise from Ford.
It's just interesting that if I were designing a semi-autonomous car, I wouldn't bother to put in the software. Don't allow it to operate if there's nobody in the driver's seat, because I would assume there's got to be somebody all the time in the driver's seat.
Yeah, but this is like remember, have you ever bought anything with ridiculous disclaimers on it? Like, I'll give you an example. I bought car ramps once, right? You drive up on the car ramp to change oil or whatever.
Right.
It had a big disclaimer and big decal on it. Do not drive over ramps. This could create a hazard.
Well, I saw somebody posted on Facebook last week um, a, a photo of some child thing, and it shows the instruction sheet showed throwing the wrappers in the trash,
Right.
and it actually said, "Do not throw child in trash." I mean, it's we've gotten that stupid, I guess.
I'm just, yeah, like the obvious, the Johnny
Yeah, I mean,
obvious.
it wasn't faked. It was real.
Wow. Wow. Not a deep fake here on Cruise Control. Hey, we're glad you're along for the ride. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. If you have a comment about the show or something you'd like us to cover, a car you'd like us to review, we'll talk about that, Les. And we're always open for suggestions, right? As long as they're friendly.
Well, as long as they're friendly and they don't cost us anything,
That's key.
and
Cost
don't
is key.
require manual effort.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, let's get started. We're going to come in about 30 seconds. I'll bring us in on this Consumer Reports reveal of their study that happened on Thursday. A pretty interesting study. We love the folks over at Consumer Reports. Remember, they buy every vehicle they test.
Yep,
That's a lot of money. So
a lot of money, but they do a very, very good job.
Yep. And we always have people on from Consumer Reports. We're always glad to have them on. Cruise Control. Here we go. And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We're glad you're along for the ride with us. We're going to tell you about this story, our lead-off story this hour. Tesla has somehow found a way to make the car drive itself. I'm saying Consumer Reports has made Teslas drive themselves.
Yep.
And not a good development, really. This came out on Thursday. They found they could easily get a 2020 Tesla Model Y to drive even with no one in the driver's seat, Les Jackson.
This is scary.
Yeah, it is. Well, let's talk a little bit about what they did. And, of course, there was an accident recently with a Tesla where they found people in the back seat, one person in the passenger seat, another person in the back seat. And I believe, did both die or one person died in that?
I think one.
Yeah. So Consumer Reports wanted to see, could this be done? Is there a way to defeat the safety systems that you would think would be built into this autopilot system in Teslas? And they found they could do it. They, on a closed test track, they could operate autopilot without somebody in the driver's seat. Now, they had to do it in a little bit different way than what most people would do, Les. It involved putting a weighted chain on the wheel and keeping the seatbelt buckled on the driver's seat. Now, something that you probably could do yourself. I don't think many people have a weighted chain with them, but certainly you could buckle the seatbelt and probably put something on the steering wheel, right?
Um, yeah. By the way, these aren't instructions
No,
we're
no, no,
giving you.
no, no.
So in fact, they did have to defeat the seat sensor.
Yeah.
So at least in the software, it has to detect someone in the seat.
Well, I'm not sure if it was in the seat or whether it was a weighted chain just to make it feel like somebody was touching the steering wheel. It's hard to say, but of course, Tesla says that that crash that we were just telling you about, where one person was killed, that the autopilot was not enabled. Tesla gets all of this data from every car every day back into their
Well,
headquarters.
if the autopilot wasn't enabled, can you explain to me how the two people in the car got in the back seat and didn't turn it on?
I can't.
I mean, can you be that whatever that you would say, oh, let's get in the back seat and not bother to turn on the autopilot, or better yet, pull the car over and put it in park?
They could have not been wearing seatbelts and were just bounced to the back seat.
Well, okay. It's just, I don't know. There are too many questions here.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get back to the Consumer Reports findings. In a statement on Thursday, Consumer Reports Senior Director of Auto Testing, Jake Fisher, said, "In our test, the system not only failed to make sure the driver was paying attention, it couldn't even tell if there was a driver there at all." And he said he had not encountered this with systems like Super Cruise from GM and other systems from BMW, Ford, and Subaru that use camera-based driver assistance systems to track movement of drivers' eyes and head position, that these were not present in Tesla.
I know Jake Fisher well. I believe you do too.
Yeah.
He's the senior director of auto testing.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good engineer. Boy, I wish I'd been there for that test.
It would have been interesting, wouldn't it? I wouldn't want to be in the car, though. How about you?
Well, I don't want to be in the car, but I certainly would like to observe it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, of course, they're being looked into. The crash in Texas, that's where it took place. The crash that killed the one person is being looked into, and a couple of members of Congress have written letters to NHTSA imploring the agency to conduct a thorough investigation of the accident and recommend corrective actions to prevent similar accidents. But the thing is, I mean, Elon Musk kind of gets away with it because he has many government contracts and he, has so far gotten away with a lot of this stuff, hasn't he?
Yeah, but people get away with stuff for a long time, and then then the reckoning starts.
Do you think it would have been different, let's say, had GM or Ford had a similar problem?
Much different. I think they would have approached it very, very seriously, very professionally. They would have said, "This shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
We will look into this and report back why."
Well, when we come back, we're going to report on a very inexpensive version of the Mini, the Oxford edition, something you might want to look into if you're looking at getting into a cool, sporty car. Yeah, this Oxford edition, Les, is pretty cool. We're going to talk about that coming up here. And it is a good value when you compare it to some of the other Minis. Side by side, you compare it to the Cooper hardtop and the Oxford edition. Basically, Mini is saying you get over $6,000 of stuff in this version that you don't get in the Cooper hardtop, which is pretty cool, isn't it?
That is pretty cool. Well, Mini has been around since the late 90s, right?
I think it was a little bit later than that. I'd have to check.
But it's had a good long run, and they're just doing great.
Yeah, they certainly are. They certainly are. They're fun cars. And we're going to talk about them when we come back and why it's a great deal. Why don't you tell us about what you're getting into as far as press cars?
Well, after the Cooper this coming week, the following week is a BMW 530i. After that is a Ford F-150. I know you've been in one recently.
Yes, I have the hybrid. We're going to have a
That's
review
right.
of that.
After that, the Bronco Sport,
Yep, I was.
which means big crowds will gather around it.
Yeah, yeah. I recently had that, and we're going to do a rare duel at the
That's right, a
wheel.
dual review at the
Yep.
end of May.
Yep.
Also, the Toyota Highlander hybrid.
Yep. That's going to be pretty cool.
And the Mazda 3 Turbo hatchback.
That sounds fun. I just had the Toyota Camry TRD, their Toyota Racing Development model, which was fun. I have an MDX now, Acura MDX, which I just received yesterday. So we're going to put that through its paces and have an at the wheel review. And as you mentioned, the hybrid Ford F-150 hybrid and the Bronco Sport Badlands edition. So all those reviews are coming up.
Were the tires on your Camry about this thick?
Yes, they were pretty thin. they were pretty thin, but that's okay because it is a performance vehicle, and it rode like a lowered car because it was a lowered car, you know.
Like this?
Little bit, little bit, little bit.
Well,
here we go.
Better you than me. And welcome back to Cruise Control. Les and Fred here at the wheel. We were talking before the break about the Cooper, the mini Oxford edition, which, boy, is it a bargain. The more I look at it, the more I look at the price range, this thing is a good deal.
Yeah, it really is a good deal, Les. And if you are looking for a performancy small car to commute in that gets good mileage and has a great value, this might be the vehicle for you. Let's delve into it a little bit. They've done this in previous years, and now they have an updated and uprated version for 2022. We're into the 2022 model year, folks. It's really nicely equipped. It can be had. The two-door version can be had for $19,750. And it includes, here's the things it includes: leatherette upholstery, LED headlights with Union Jack rear tail lights. And it also includes an 8.8-inch touchscreen media display, a Sirius XM satellite radio with Apple CarPlay. I don't think they have Android Auto yet, and that's just because they're connected with BMW.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to ask you if you knew, but I think you're right.
Yeah. So you'll have to buy an Apple phone for that. But you look at the vehicle, also included 17-inch wheels with run-flat tires, exterior metallic paint choices. Don't cost any more in the Oxford edition, but in the Cooper hardtop, it would cost you $500. Dual zone automatic climate control. If you bought the Cooper hardtop, $500 more. Oxford edition, $0. An anthracite headliner would be an upgrade in the Cooper hardtop, not so in the Oxford edition. So you're getting a very well equipped vehicle. You get a year of Sirius XM satellite radio standard with this. So the two-door comes in at $19,750, and the four-door comes in at $20,750. And I think it's a pretty slick little vehicle to have. Maybe you want a sporty second vehicle. Maybe you want a sporty car to commute in. It does come with front collision and lane departure warning. So the safety is there. And those cool Union Jack rear taillights. You've seen those, right?
Those are cool. I really like, we're showing the pictures there. I really like the green one for some reason.
Yeah, a lot of colors. I'd probably go with the red and black.
I like the white top.
Yeah. So you get the two-tone tops, and I'm sure you can get things like Union Jack mirrors and things to put on it.
Hmm.
They're just dealer installed things, right? Yeah.
Well, you got to have stuff on it. I mean, a mini isn't a mini unless you've got the Union Jack or some other, kind of throwback.
Now
Um,
this comes with a manual transmission for that price. Remember those?
is that where there's a thing on the floor?
Yeah, there's more pedals.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there's more
Hmm.
pedals than what you're used to. So, so what happens with this is you if you want the 7-speed dual clutch transmission, the DCT, you have to pony up another $1,500. But still, that means this vehicle is well below the cost of many other vehicles, isn't it? And a lot more fun, I would say.
They are fun. They just it's a happy car.
Yeah, it is a happy car. It is
Yeah.
a happy car. So there you have it. That is the Oxford edition from the folks over at Mini, and I think I like the price. I really do. What is this? They come with what, 3-cylinder engines? I believe is the standard now.
Yeah, it's a 3-cylinder engine. Gets about 34 miles to the gallon.
That's pretty good.
It's good.
That is good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, that is the Mini Oxford edition, and it's something to check out. Now, let's talk a little bit about Subaru. Subaru announced some pricing this week on their Outback models for 2022, and one of them, of course, is their upgraded Wilderness model, which that will come in at $36,995. That is MSRP, but with shipping, it comes in at $38,120, which
Whew.
is a little bit more pricey than that Oxford Minute.
Well, the shipping is beginning to get serious.
Yes, it yes, it is.
Of course, you can't go to Japan and pick it up, but
no, you can't. But let's talk about some of the other Outbacks. A pretty good deal for the base model. The base model is $26,945. That's before destination. 28 with destination. The limited model is $33,595. 34,720 with destination and delivery. So it gives you kind of an idea of the pricing on the Outback. Of course, the Outback is, I would call them the top of the range when it comes to Subarus, unless you're going to move into the Ascent and get into a full-size SUV, right?
Well, that's right. And they're just, they run forever.
Yeah, yeah. So that is some information from the folks over at Subaru. That's the good information. The bad information is they had to stop all American production. You're like, why do they do that? Don't they want more vehicles? No. This means, Les, 15,000 vehicles won't be built this month. And once again, this is a problem with chip availability. And to take 15,000 vehicles out of the Subaru lineup is a big deal, isn't it?
Well, it's imagine the losses. Just imagine.
Yeah. Now, there's no way to tell when this chip problem is going to subside. I don't think anyone's really made any dent in the backlog of not having these chips, but this has closed the Lafayette, Indiana factory from now until the end of the month, and no date has been given when the factory will come back online.
Hmm.
And this, of course, has led to high prices and lack of availability for vehicles. And we're seeing more people want new vehicles because they're coming out of the coronavirus situation, want
Yeah,
to get out there, want to buy something new, and now they won't be able to buy it, right?
I'll tell you, this past year and plus has been countless challenges
Yeah.
uh, uh, for everybody and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyway, that's the situation at Subaru. So we don't know what's going to go on there, but that's not the only shortage. The chip shortage is not the only shortage, and now
Of
there is
course,
a shortage of rubber. This is according to an article by Bloomberg that companies are grappling with shortages of rubber as well, and manufacturers like Ford and Stellantis and General Motors are starting to worry that the rubber supply is so down worldwide that they might run out of tires.
that has happened in the past.
Yeah, so it is the rubber industry. Thailand, by the way, is the world's biggest rubber producer and exporter and has struggled with persistently low prices for several years prior to the pandemic, leading to farmers to tap less trees and less availability of rubber. So we'll talk about that and more when we come back on Cruise Control Radio. Plenty more to go. We're also going to talk about Cadillac revealing its lyrics. So stay
Hmm.
tuned.
Welcome back to Cruise Control. I'm Les. He's Fred. And we're going to talk about the new colors that are coming in for Corvette. Because if you thought you were going to get one this year, well, you're not, because they shut down production
Yeah,
for a while.
that seems to be there's one of them, Amplify Orange, Caffeine.
Don't like caffeine.
No, brown cars are never big, are they?
It takes a special shape of car in brown to look good.
Hypersonic gray looks okay though.
It looks good.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people. It seems like people are waiting and they're looking at their numbers and when they will get built. Some people that ordered 2020 Corvettes got bumped over to the 2021 model year. Probably some people that ordered a 2021 will get bumped over to the 2022 model year. So I guess you just have to kind of roll with the changes there, don't you?
You do. I was just listening to that song this morning.
Mm.
Um, so, what happens if you have to wait and you have to choose your color?
Yeah, you might get some new choices.
You might. Right
like
now, though,
these.
you can, the 2022, you can get gray metallic and that amplify orange. Now, personally, everyone knows I hate orange. Orange cars look like German furnaces. All furnaces in Germany are painted what they call industrial orange.
Why is that a rule? So it's hot
No,
or
it's
something?
it's a tradition. I don't know.
Okay, I thought it was like a safety rule or something. But uh, you're not a fan of this one called Caffeine, are you?
I like the color. I just don't like it on a car.
Yeah.
It just doesn't come out.
Mm-hmm. Well, these were all revealed at the 2021 National Corvette Museum celebration, which seems a little early. Doesn't that typically take place after Carlisle? The Corvettes
Yes.
at Carlisle, which would happen the end of August. So typically that would be the first week of September or something like that. So it seems early this year. And I think you can't just be locked into any one of these colors or anything like that because there's a good chance you may be bumped to the next model year, which I never think is such a bad thing unless you really wanted a certain color or you really wanted the buttons down the center console. There's some talk in 2023 they'll get rid of those buttons that run down the center center spine of the console. If you really want those, you might be out of luck. But these things are in big demand, and I've seen used ones selling for over $100,000. I think people
Yeah.
are actually flipping them. I think they are actually buying them. They don't want them, and then they're just turning right around and selling them for more money. Uh,
In economics, that's known as the greater fool theory. And it does work.
by the
I,
way,
what?
by the way, I like the car without a rear spoiler. I think it looks much better without a
Yeah,
rear.
it does look good. It looks clean.
What I'm hoping they do on the future C8 is that they put an active aero spoiler on the car. And you would think like, oh, that's crazy. You know, what are you talking about? In certain early prototypes, they had that spoiler that would come up when speed comes up or whatever, and then it would fold back in and just be completely flat. I think that would look cool. The back of the car looks great without it. Unfortunately, that means you can't get the Z51 package with all the goodies that brings in. I just think the spoiler looks like an add-on to me. I just don't like it.
It does look like an add-on. Now, those active spoilers are expensive to produce, but since the price is going crazy, what does it matter?
What's another couple of $1,000s, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
And I think with today's technology, you could make it where it was pretty compact and would not take up a lot of room, and probably would have small actuators and things like that. That it and make it simple to keep the cost down. Put a button on it, up, down. Don't do
Yeah,
a speed
right.
oriented. Just say, hey, I want to run it up or I want to run it down. An on-off switch, up or down. Sort of like an antenna for your radio in the old days. How's that sound?
Many people wouldn't know what you're talking about there.
What are you saying, Les? You saying that I've been around for a while?
I'm saying a power antenna. Boy, they haven't had those for what, 30, 35 years?
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about it. Some of the vehicles, like the F-150, has a good old-fashioned screw-on whip antenna.
Yeah.
Even I believe the Mustang has that. Probably you can buy a kit to put a telescoping antenna on it. Most people just put the little rubber ducky antenna on it. So that's something that has. It's funny. It was more advanced in the past.
Well, except now the antennas are in the windshields.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Hey, let's talk a little bit about another new vehicle from Audi, and it is called the Audi RS Etron GT, and this is another all-electric vehicle from Audi in their e-tron lineup. Very sporty-looking vehicle, and it is going to be revealed tomorrow in Malibu, California, at the Cars and Coffee gathering near the Malibu Kitchen at 3900 Cross Creek Road in Malibu, California, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time.
I'll fly out in my private jet tonight.
I'm gonna head out in my car and see if I make it there in time. What do you think?
You'll have to drive very fast.
Okay. Well, it produces 469 horsepower, which is quite stout, and or up to 522 horsepower with overboost for 2.5 seconds with launch control, and 464 pound-feet of torque. And it allows the e-tron to repeatedly accelerate from 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds with a top track speed of 152 miles an hour, Les Jackson.
Whew.
Yeah.
Whew.
Now, that is pretty cool. But if you want more, the RS Etron GT produces 590 horsepower and up to 637 horsepower with overboost. Overboost is the new turbo, isn't it?
It is. And boy, is it strong.
Yeah. And then let's talk about charging, because you can't talk about a new vehicle without talking about charging. It can replenish its battery from 5 to 80% in about 22 and a half minutes. And it has an approximate range of 238 miles for the e-tron GT and 232 miles for the RS Etron GT. I would imagine if you use that overboost, you can significantly decrease that.
Yeah, you're going to cut down the range.
Yeah, yeah. So just another performance electric car, outstanding. One thing that we're not going to see happen is horsepower numbers are not going to go down. I think it's one way to get people excited about electric cars. What we haven't seen yet, though, is something that is, let's say, as sporty as a GTI, at that price range that's electric. But I think we will. Hey, we appreciate you listening to Cruise Control Radio. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com, where you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.
Bye.